What's going on, guys? Gamer on here, back for another video, and today I'm going to be ranking all 14 Ace Attorney Trilogy cases, and this is actually an edited video, so yeah, enjoy, like and subscribe, and have your opinions in the comments. So, number 14 we have the Lost Turnabout, which is the first case of the game, which is generally considered the worst case, as it's really stupid, and it's just a tutorial case. So a police officer is pushed off the ledge, and his girlfriend Maggie apparently did it, but of course she didn't. And a guy called Wellington is a witness, and he obviously is a murderer. So basically, he says he sees bananas beside the body, but it's a baseball glove, and that means he can't say because he's legally blind. So he couldn't have seen the girl, and like he's really dumb. He like writes her name wrong, and like says there's not a phone, and he literally sees one. Yeah, beside the body. But yeah, it's kind of stupid, and it makes Phoenix might have amnesia, which is really stupid. So yeah, that's why it's at the bottom. So next we have the first turnabout, which is the first case of the first game, and it's just your basic tutorial case. Your friend Larry's been accused of murder. You have to say, it's not Larry, it's you. Boom, done. Nothing more to say. I guess him throwing his wig's pretty funny. But yeah, that's literally about it. So next we have Turnabout Memories, which is the first case of the third game, and I know people will be like, what? How did you rank this so low? But it's because I cannot rank a 1.5 hour case over like under 3 hour ones. But yeah, it introduces Dahlia, who's like the best villain of the series besides Alan Morgan. She's the best. Yeah, Phoenix is in action as not a lawyer, which is class to see. It's pretty usual tutorial stuff. But yeah, the plays memory, which is epic. I really enjoyed doing this one. Hemorrhoids. But it was good to see Dahlia come back and kind of introduce her to the series instead of being an introduction, which made me more excited for her and why it's going to be the best of the three. So next is Turnabout Big Tom, which is like the fan. I hate the favorite. Nobody likes this case. Nobody. But I don't mind it. It's basically it's a circus coincidence. Basically, and we got like the clown, the acrobat, all the performers, right? But we've got the worst person of all in the whole series, Regina. Regina is the worst. No tells horrible jokes as his own character. The puppeteer likes Regina, and so does the defendant Max, who is probably a really good one in this case because he's a decent defendant. It's quite funny sometimes, but yeah, it's really stupid. It's kind of really big Washington. He like throws his statue in his window, and then like the kid hits the statue and flies up. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay, but on to the next. Well, you know, I keep talking about this, right? As after it is like the beyond right, he's a really weird. So he's you might guess how he's worried. I didn't need to start with Regina to try and kill her. As the big thing is he wasn't trying to kill the ringmaster and left him, he's trying to kill Regina. So yeah, he doesn't want to kill Regina. And he tried to kill her. It's really funny. So next up we have Turnabout Sisters, which is the second case of the first game. And it's basically, he's still introducing like Edgeworth, and it does a really good job of this. It's quite simple. You've got the right, Mia has been murdered, and you've got to figure out who done it. It's obviously it's Mr. White, so it is. But you have to figure out like accomplices using May's spirit channeling and all this stuff. So I really like it. It's just an introductory to like all the characters and the victim to like kill someone, but it was actually killed in self-defense. And I think that's such a good plot twist. I like all the characters. Introduces Old Bag, fan favorite, and one of my favorites, obviously. Like who doesn't love a little dose of Old Bag in your story? So yeah, this it's quite basic again, but it introduces more characters. You've got that weird. That's kind of the point of the third cases in general. So yeah, I always really liked Turnabout Samurai as being a really just nice break from all the tension and just kind of getting out there and just doing a normal case in general. Can we even talk about how Old Bag just chases children? Please, it's disturbing. and it's not okay. He needs to be stopped. And you kind of feel bad for him because he's a child, but we just kind of like yell at him until he tells us what we want. Yeah, that's not okay in any way, shape or form, but we do it anyway. Yay. Okay, so next on the list we have the fourth case of the third game, which is Turnabout Memories, which is we get to play as Maya again. Yay. And why isn't this higher up, even though I love this case so much? It's only an hour-and-a-half long trial. There's no investigation, nothing else. But it has Dahlia, her introductions as a villain. We get to play as Maya, a defendant who is really dumb but ends up dying at the end, which is very sad. So the whole thing is, a girl is dead and found in his car as he's escaped prison and is on death row for something that he didn't actually do. Edriff is here as a youngling, which is pretty funny, as like I think it's his first trial as well as Maya's. Dahlia is evil, but she gets away with it as the big climactic where you're about to figure out that it's her. The defendant kills himself using the poison, which is Phoenix's necklace in the first case of the third game. But yeah, I love this case, but it would be a lot higher up, but there's no investigation. It's just a trial segment, and we also get to learn about Godot's backstory, which is very nice and interesting to hear. And also it's quite clever how she set the whole thing up, and the whole bridge, which is linking into the fifth case. And this case was kind of like a bridge to the big finale of the whole trilogy. So yeah, I hate the way that we don't get to use the same judge though. That was super upsetting and made me cry. Yeah. Next up is the Stolen Turnabout, the second case of the third game. And I really do enjoy this case, but it's so confusing to me. This is the only case that will actually baffle me because it's so confusing. So this urn is stolen, the Korean village pot thing, and it's actually not a murder, yay. And of course, Ron DeLite has been accused of being Masty Maske, the thief. Obviously he's not, but he is, but he's not. Like the Masty Maste is him, but he's not the thief. Then you learn that Lacry is obviously the thief, as he was working as a security guard there. So but then you're like, yay, we got him, woohoo. And then you learn that someone has died. And it comes somewhere completely different, where you said that Ron DeLite was at the time of the stealing of the urn. So now he's gonna get arrested for murder. So now you gotta figure out that Luke couldn't have been. You've gotta basically do yourself over and make it so that everything you said was wrong, and that he couldn't have been there at the night and was actually at the Cape Security. So we've got Larry in this case, which is a straight. We get introduced to Desi and Ron, which are great characters. Like, Ron can be a bit annoying, but you get used to it, and he's quite funny. But it's so confusing, like, why did you need to move the big statue? Yeah. But anyway, it's a great case. Let's move on to the next one. So the next one we have is Recipe for Turnabout, which is the third case of the third game. And I love this case so much. I know so many people don't, but I think it's like one of my favourite. It's like, I wish I could rank it higher, but I just can't. So it's a poisoning case, and I was really hoping we would get one, and we did. So yay, we got a poisoning case. I love Tigray, great villain. I think the victim is really cool as well, as he was like had a gambling addiction and won the lottery. I think it's cool that Maggie's back as a defendant. I think the old man is more of a comic relief, like Old Bag 2.0, but he's not as good. Viola's pretty cool. She's just kind of there. Big thing that really makes me like it is the plan. So it was made out by the whole cast except for the old man is in on it. So they poison the chef, Furio Tigre poison this guy, right? Because so they can get their hand on a CD. But they need to frame it on someone, so he dresses up as him and pretends to die again to frame the waitress, and they go and put all the poison in her apron. But then he takes the wrong lottery ticket and gets no money, and it feels sad. It was really fun to voice all the characters, including the chef. And the whole point of the third case is to introduce a new, fun, colourful cast, which is what this case does very well. A cool setting with the Trebian restaurant. All the characters have very fun personalities. Furio Tigre is just really funny villain, and the way you manage to figure out it's him by making him accidentally say what colour the bottle of poison was is just the best. And I know people complain going like, he doesn't look like Phoenix, but I'm still gonna say that I really enjoy this case so much. Moran Godot is brought up, so it is, about him, how he can't see red, and really brings more to his personality. So yeah, there's not much more to say about this case, but I really enjoy it, the whole plan. And there are some, whenever you get stuff wrong in this case, it makes you feel super smart. Super like some stuff where you gotta really examine pictures and stuff, and I feel like this case is really well done, like puzzle wise, and doesn't make it really difficult, but doesn't make it really hard, really easy either. So yeah, I adore this case. I would really like to rank it higher, but I don't think I can. Yeah, so that's my opinion on that case. And I think it's funny that all the just really random contradictions, like just really like, oh, it's in his left ear, no, it's in his right ear. Oh, he was drinking with his left hand. Next up, we have Reunion and Turnabout, which is the second case of the second game. It makes sense. And I love this case for 3 reasons. So we're going to move on to the next one. The setting. 2, Von Karma. 3, Aunt Morgan and Innie Minnie, right? There's also like, and 4, I guess, the plan for the murder. So the setting is Korean Village, which is where Maya grew up, and basically she's going to channel a spirit with this guy. But when you open the door, he's dead and she's sitting there with blood all over her. Oh no, how could this happen? So then you figure out that he was shot, right? But then you realise that Maya must have been possessed and killed. She was possessed by someone, and then the ghost killed him, right? But obviously you can't just go to a judge, she was possessed, not my fault. So then you figure out that she wasn't possessed, and that the undergirl, Innie Minnie, was in the room the whole time in a box, then got out, and then shot him, and then like drugged Maya, which is really smart. And then Aunt Morgan is an accomplice to this. And I love the reveal that probably one of my favourites is that Innie Minnie is her sister after a car crash and she's got plastic surgery. Yeah, it's really wild, and it's super dumb with the car thing, where it's like, it's an English car, so if you go out the left door, you'd be the driver, so you're her sister, and it's like a really big stretch, but it's really well done. I love this case so much. Wish I could rank it higher, but it is just a second case. So, yeah, Innie Minnie's a really sympathetic villain. Aunt Morgan is the evilest character in the series, or Dahlia, and Pearl is introduced, and so is Von Karma. It's kinda, I love it. Okay. So next we're going to talk about the 4th case of the first game, which is the one where Edgeworth is accused of murdering a guy on a boat, which is Turnabout Goodbyes. I love this case, everyone loves this case. You put it against Von Karma, the most fiercest prosecutor in history, never lost a case. Edgeworth has been accused of murdering and shooting a guy on a boat. A lot of harvesting photos. Lacry is listening to music, and it's not Christmas yet. There's also a bookkeeper, and you interrogate a parrot. What's not to love? DLC. Okay, so there's also a DL6 incident, which is a different case where Edgeworth's father's been murdered, and you manage to figure out that Von Karma is behind everything. He told the shopkeeper to kill the guy, then threw it on Edgeworth by killing him like an hour before, and then going with the bow and then shooting the water, making it look like he would be killed, and just jumped up and swung back, and Edgeworth would be like, what? Then a lot of photos were taken of the boat. Lacry was listening to music, bringing up Maya's mum, in the DL6. Von Karma goes nuts in a breakdown. Yeah, I love this case. It's very well done. I wish they would have made it, because it's kind of like, oh man, you're the killer, and he gets like, yes, I am the killer, and you're like, okay, and he's like, yeah, that's it, I'd kill them, bye, I'm going to jail now, and they're like, okay, bye. But then they're like, okay, let's move on to DL6 now, it's so fun, who DL6, and it's quite fun to solve with like the photos, and Edgeworth the whole time just crying because his dad died. And yeah, then you realize Von Karma's the big mastermind, like, is the real killer, and then he going to jail. It's such a great reveal, and looking back on all the flashbacks of Edgeworth as a child, it's quite fun. And then like him thinking he's the killer, but he's not. It's really well done at introducing all the characters and showing how Von Karma is the evilest prosecutor in the world. So now we're moving on to the top 3, which is the final case of every game. And first we have at number 3, the 5th case of the 3rd game, which is Bridge to Turnabout. Now, this case, people might be like, how dare you not put it at the end? But I just prepared the other two. So basically what happened is, this woman called Elise de Nuxium is murdered by the big statue from the Stolen Turnabout. It's murdered on a big she's murdered in a big nunnery, so it is, where it looks like Dahlia staring, but she should be in prison. Yeah, so we're all going up there to have some fun and do training. So we all go up, and then you meet the head nun, Larry, staying there, and then you come out and she's dead and Phoenix falls off a bridge. Then you play as Edgeworth for the first investigation and first trial. I managed to figure out, even though the head nun literally saw Iris pulling the sword out of her back, that it wasn't her killing her, which is really odd. But then you managed to figure out that it was Godot who's the killer, who's the other prosecutor, as he was there to try and stop Dahlia from possessing possessing Pearl and then going out and killing Maya. So basically, the victim is actually Maya's mum, who's been like a whole mystery of the whole series, and she's now the victim. Yeah, and this case is just fantastic. I physically cannot describe all of this stuff in it. Like, Godot being the killer is probably the biggest surprise and twist out of the whole series. And bringing back all the old characters was great as well. Dahlia's breakdown's amazing, Godot's breakdown's amazing. Yeah, and I think the whole way we did it, where Dahlia possessed the victim, then Godot had to kill her to stop her from killing Maya, and then them flying the body under a bridge like a pendulum is just nuts. Like, just nuts, but it's really well done where it actually makes sense. Then Larry thought he saw the body fly, but he was looking upside down. The way Iris was only trying to put the sword in her back, so it would cover up the real murder weapon, which was her staff. Gums shows some amazing parts in this case. So it does, with the metal detector, and yeah, this is not, like, everyone just has to love this case, so they do. And the whole thing with it being under his mask and the lights, I just can't describe everything in this case. I just can't. But yeah, just know that I love this case, and it's so difficult to pick between the top three which one's better than the rest. So yeah, this one just got the lower edge because it is just a murder case. So whereas even though Maya is missing half the time and Pearl is missing half the time, nobody seems to care about a child who's gone missing. Yeah, but still, I do love this case, and like, so does everyone else seem to. So yeah, this one is going to be my number 3. So at number 2 we have, drumroll please, the 5th case of the first game, which is Rise from Ashes. Now, I love this case for so many reasons, but mainly the villain and the investigation. This game was made for the Nintendo 3DS, so it has a lot of new mechanics. Now you can like do fingerprints, you can now use like testing fluid, examine stuff. There's like a 3D video, and I love all the characters. Jake Marshall, he was trying to get revenge because he knew the gun was to kill her all along. Officer Megan's getting stabbed in the hand, and everyone's still thinking he's the killer. Chief Gant literally using Edgeworth's car to carry around a body without him knowing it. Chief Gant breakdown is one of the best, really lasts manically. And yeah, this case is amazing, and this guy is a really good sidekick. Lana Sky is a really odd defendant, where like she says that she is guilty, but you know somewhere down there she's not. She breaks the law in order to help you. Yeah, it's also good just to have Edgeworth back, just like as just a normal prosecutor. It's really good. And once you figure out that Jake Marshall, when there's actually been 2 murders, but then you realise that there's only been 1 murder, and like the killer is moving the body around everywhere. It's a bit confusing, but once they lay out all the pieces, it makes a lot more sense. So yeah, going on to the villain, Chief Gunn is the head of police, and of course, like, going up against the head of police is going to be a very difficult job, but you managed to do it anyway. I managed to pin him down, as he was telling Lana Sky, if you don't do exactly what I say, I'll tell the world that your sister killed Jake Marshall's brother ages ago in the S19 incident, which is really cool going into it, as Emma apparently shoved the prosecutor onto a nightstand. Then you figure out by like a piece of cloth that actually he did, as there's no blood in the cloth but blood on his shirt. So yeah, it's very well done, and definitely one of the best cases. I wish Maya was here though, but I guess like you can't have everything, and Emma's a really good substitute. So yeah, this case is very good and definitely deserving of being number 2 spot, or even in the top 3. But now we're going to be one of my favourite cases of all time, and I wonder what it is because you've probably already figured it out. Okay. Farewell, My Turnabout is my favourite case of all time. Not just because Maya has been kidnapped, because of the characters, the way your defendant is guilty, the way that there's an assassin, old bag, Adrian, the setting, the murder plan, everything. I love this case. John Corridor has been murdered with a knife in his chest and a scarf around his neck after being strangled. Your defendant has been accused of murdering him, Ingarde, and you have to prove it isn't him. But Ingarde's guilty. He hired an assassin to kill him, and then you realise that Adrian Andrews went in and tried to frame it on Ingarde because she knew how evil he was by making the girl kill herself, just because he wanted more fame than John Corridor. Lotta and Oldbag are here as comic relief, but it's so good to see them back and in action. They're really make the story a lot more fun. The assassin has kidnapped Maya and forced Phoenix to make Ingarde innocent, even though you know he's guilty. And eventually, you manage to convince the assassin that Matt Ingarde is a pure evil person and is not to be trusted, and he calls off the contract. Gumshoe has a really good moment where he crashes his car trying to get evidence to you, and Von Karma bursts down the door in order to bring the evidence to you. Edgeworth is here as the prosecutor at one point. Von Karma is here and she knows what's happening, but she needs to. Everyone knows how guilty Matt Ingarde is and is wondering why Phoenix is trying to keep it up. But you know you have to, or Maya's life is on the line. Adrian Andrews is such a good part of his case, as you know there's something to hide, but you just can't tell what, and eventually you learn that she framed him just because she knew what he'd done to Celeste, the girl who killed herself. And even though it's either Adrian's life in prison or Maya's life, you need to pick, so you manage to just keep the trial going. Adrian's character is very well developed, and I just love everything about it. How she knows she's done something wrong but isn't guilty, so she can't really say anything, or else she'll be done for, even though she's not the killer. So you manage to frame her, even though you know that she's most likely innocent, and then yeah, Pearl is here trying to help. Everything about this case is just amazing. I love it so much. I love the setting, everything, all the characters. There's one thing I would change, which is I put Lacry in instead of Lotta, since Lotta got her starlight, but that's just a really small thing. I love everything about this case, and in my opinion is the best case in the trilogy. So thank you all for watching so much. I know my voice sounds probably really weird to you, and yeah, so make sure to like and subscribe if you like more content like this. I guess comment down below if you agree or disagree, because you'll all probably disagree, since that's what society and the internet works. So thank you so much for watching to the end. This means a lot to me, since this game is very special to me. So bye.